Hello everyone, this is a brand new series. It's Piggy and Fergal. Say hello, Piggy.
Hello.
And we are today, for the first time, reviewing an episode of TNA Impact. This might become a regular series, but it's going to be a mix of review, nostalgia. We're going to be talking about the January 3rd, 2008 edition of TNA Impact. But there was a lot going on around this time. Obviously, I was a big wrestling fan back then. Piggy wasn't, but is a big TNA fan. So looking through this should be a lot of fun. But before we get into the episode itself, let's talk about the video game. SVR 2008 would have just been released around this time. And what are your memories of that game, Piggy?
For people who want to know, it came out November 9th, 2007. So we're about a month and a half into this, and we're about nearly 7 months into a tragedy that happened earlier, for people who want to know. So we are about to become PG, but not yet. Yeah, my thoughts on the game is, having played it years ago, but a few years after it came out, it's a good game that's flawed. Like, it has one of the best ECW rosters in any WWE game, but it is extremely flawed with the mechanics they use.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Back when because I bought it when it had just come out, like I got it for Christmas, and I remember just being so stoked to have ECW in it. I know they bastardized ECW back then, but I was still a massive fan, and to have, Monty Brown, Elijah Burke, CM Punk in a wrestling game at that time, when I was probably been 8 or 9, something like that, for me that was everything. And also the Extreme Rules match, they improved upon a lot with the use of weapons underneath the ring. But yeah, I understand, going back, the mechanics were not as good as the previous game, but I did still enjoy it for what it was. I still go back to it because it's got the GM mode, the last game until 2K22 to have the GM mode. But yeah, in terms of other aspects about that game, and the roster you were talking about, have you got any thoughts on that?
I think it's a good. I'm gonna Google the roster very quickly, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
Just so I'm not mentioning people who are not in the game.
Funny enough, I think that was a problem with that game as well. It was that a lot of people were left out. The tag team champions were London and Kendrick. However, they weren't in the game, which is very weird. Deuce and Domino as well, and just a bunch of wrestlers as well, like Hayden Murdoch, who were being pushed quite heavily-ish on TV at the time, and to leave a lot of people out just seemed a bit weird, but maybe that was to allow for more ECW people to get in.
Do you want me to run down the roster who's in it very quickly?
Yeah, of course, just quickly.
We've Ashley, Batista, Bobby Lashley, Bret Hart, Candice Michelle, Carlito, Chavo Guerrero, Chris Masters, CM Punk, Eddie Guerrero as a PSP exclusive, Edge, Elijah Burke, Finley, Gregory Helms, Hardcore Holly as a Nintendo DS exclusive, JBL, Jeff Hardy, Jim Neidhart as a PSP exclusive, John Cena, Johnny Nitro, JTG, Kane, Kelly Kelly, Kenny Dykstra, King Booker, Marcus Corvon or Monty Brown, Mark Henry, Matt Hardy, Melina, Michelle McCool, Mick Foley, Mickey James, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. McMahon, MVP, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ric Flair, Rick Rude, Roddy Piper, Sabu, Sandman, Sergeant Slaughter as a PSP exclusive, Shad, Shane McMahon, Shawn Michaels, Snitsky, Steve Austin, Terry Funk, The Great Khali, The Rock, Tommy Dreamer, Tori Wilson, Triple H, Umaga, Undertaker and William Regal.
It's not a bad roster, but they did leave a lot of people out. That's the only issue.
It's not a bad roster at all.
I remember the Sandman's entrance for some reason was a big selling point for me, but I got it on PS2 and they cut it out of the PS2 version because, I don't know.
Did
they? They did. He went through the crowd on 360 and PS3, but any other console, I think he just come through the entrance stage, which I don't know. I don't know why they couldn't just be bothered to place him there. It wouldn't have taken up that much more memory on the disc, but I don't know. Bit weird. But a weak game overall. But what about we're talking about memories of the time. Also, a lot of wrestling figures. We were just scrolling through the Wayback Machine on Ringside Collectibles, and there were some interesting figures that were on sale at the time. Like a lot of Rockies, a lot of the ECW series, the Jack series. There was so many. Like I got a lot of a big hit of nostalgia, I would say, looking through this website. But what are like the ones that stand out for you on what were on sale?
What stands out to me is the fact that it's not even the figures, it's the fact that like they had people like the Outsiders who were, well, we'll get on to Scott Hall later on because he does appear by name in this TNA episode, but the fact that the Outsiders were made well in TNA just shows how different the time was back then, where you could make legends who were in quote unquote rival companies.
Yeah, the like contracted performers to TNA, and like I completely forgot about that as well. Like, yeah, they were literally just on this TNA show we're watching, and they were being sold for WWE. And it's not like they were in TNA for a cup of coffee; they were there for a solid 4 years already. So, like, just stuff like that, and a lot of cool internet exclusives like the Jeff Hardy Umaga 2-pack as well. And just looking at the prices as well was very interesting. You could get a whole set back then of the Ruthless Aggression figs for what, $80? With way more yeah, something like that.
It was for the classic superstars complete set of 8. So this is including the Shawn Michaels LJN style.
Yeah,
you could get it for $109.
Yeah, so not too bad.
And Adrenaline, I'll do Adrenaline 27. Just give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Adrenaline 20, if it'll load, it depends. Adrenaline Series 27, so it's a 2-pack that has Deuce and Domino, the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff, Lance Cage and Trevor Murdoch. You could get it, the whole set, for $60.
That's good. That's really good. Like, I know today you can get... Obviously today's Elites are way better, but I feel like you had good quality... with the, you know, your basic Jax figures. Like, you could get it for a $5, and, you know, you could get the likes of Monty Brown and the like, where I know I keep gushing about Monty Brown. He's not even in this episode. He's already retired at this point.
He's retired at this point. He's fought CM Punk and he's retired.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, so he had a figure on sale at the time, and Steve Richards and all these, like, I don't want to say job guys, but you know what I mean, like the lower card guys, which you kind of get in WWE releases nowadays, but the figures are always basics, and the basics nowadays are terrible, in my opinion. Like, you used to be able to get some good... I'm talking like an old person, like, you know, the good old days, but...
Back in my day,
like the cheap figures. But you were saying you don't like the bulkiness of the Jacks, do you? As someone who's only recently gotten into... Well, not recently, but in the past 10 years.
Yeah, and quick side note for people who collected the quote-unquote elites of this, the Deluxe Aggression. The full Deluxe Aggression set was Elijah Burke, MVP, William Regal, Chavo Guerrero, Gene Snitsky, and John Cena. This is the Deluxe Aggression Series 11, and you could get that for $75 or $74.97.
Is that John Cena? Sorry, is that John Cena got the camo gear and like the mouth, which is like agape, where he's like screaming?
I think so.
Yeah, I got that one. Like, literally, I want to say on the date of this TNA episode, like around then. It's weird that I've got such a specific memory of it, but I remember my granddad got it for me. But yeah, like the figures back then, like you could pester your parents, and often in the UK at least they were up for a decent price. Nowadays you go into your like discount shops and your toy shops, and they're like can be up to £30 sometimes. And yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I seen the New Japan figures. For people who don't know, Super 7 made New Japan figures. I seen them in a comic book shop for like $70 for about $80.
Oh, that is rough. But I suppose it's imported, isn't it? But even so, like, it's a bit cheeky. But I suppose, yeah, I don't know. I understand, I get it, but yeah, like the collectible market has just shot through the roof now, isn't it? And those Rocky figures you were saying, they're quite rare these days, and they're going up for what, $10 back on ringside. So yeah, very very cool to go on the Wayback Machine. I would like to do that segment more, because I just love getting the nostalgia hit of what wrestling figures were like. But again, like, it just depends whether the Wayback Machine actually has the layout for that said time period. But we're about to talk about TNA, but before we do, let's talk about what was happening on the competition. Well, competition, if you want to call it that. Raw for, I believe it's December 31st, is it, Piggy?
December 31st, 2007 on Raw. Now, to me, this screams TNA booking all over. Like, I thought Vince Russo wrote this episode of Raw. For people who want to know where it took place in the Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. It took place on December 29th, 2007, it says here, even though it's the 31st. I think it was filmed on the 29th. Mr. Kennedy defeated Shawn Michaels in 1436. Umanga defeated Jim Duggan in a Royal Rumble qualifying match in 1 minute and 15 seconds. Beth Phoenix, who's the women's champion at the time, defeated Melina and Mickie James in a triple threat match to retain the women's championship in 4 minutes and 25 seconds. Hornswoggle versus William Regal with Vince McMahon ended in a no contest at 4 minutes. Jeff Hardy versus Santino Marella with Carlito and Maria ended in a no contest in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Ric Flair defeated Triple H by DQ in a Ric Flair's careers on the line match in 13 minutes and 22 seconds. Dark match between Chris Jericho and Jeff Hardy defeated John Bradshaw Layfield and Randy Orton.
I mean, that doesn't sound like a bad card. I remember Mr. Kennedy and Shawn Michaels having some decent matches, but I can't remember. I can't quite remember if they were flops or not. Do you remember?
I wouldn't have been a fan of this time, and I have not.
Fair enough. But
well, I'm just going to say it was a great match, and that was it.
Yeah, let's keep it positive, keep it light. And Flair and Triple H as well. It could have been good. I don't know. The thing is, on paper, some of these cards look really cool, but then when you actually get to watching it, there's a lot of faff. I mean, Hornswoggle versus, who was it?
Hornswoggle for William Regal.
I mean, that sounds like a 5-star classic in itself, but perhaps if we were to watch it, it wouldn't be, as good as advertised. Yeah. But yeah, that's what's happening on the competition. Now let's get into TNA Impact 4. Yeah, go on.
And sorry, quick side note. For people who want to know, this is the start of the HD era of Raw. They're going PG around Backlash, so we're not at Backlash yet. We're nearing the end of the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah, and
people who want
TNA will still remain TV14, so maybe that's where they find their niche. Or I would argue this is probably the start of their downturn is around 2008. Not 2008, maybe 2009.
2009 is when TNA really starts to dip, and then when we will probably never, because I refuse to go near the Hulk Hogan era. If we do continue this series, we're going 2008 and then back to 2007 and backwards. We're not going forwards.
No, that'd be very sad.
We're reversing the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that Hogan TNA era. I don't want to think about it right now. In fact, like when I was watching this whole show, the whole thing that was going through my mind was, oh God, where did it go wrong? Like, they had it all. But never mind. I'm sure we'll get into it. TNA Impact begins, and we get a video package from the week before where you had the likes of Black Rain and Kaz feuding, and also the overarching theme of this show, which is why I believe you picked it, was who is AJ Styles going to side with? Because at the pay-per-view Final Resolution coming up, there's going to be, for the TNA Championship, Kurt Angle versus Christian Cage. And basically both camps are trying to steal AJ for themselves. Which person is he going to align with? And that's the overarching theme of this show. In fact, Jeremy Borash, JB, he is at AJ's grandmama's house, and AJ has apparently been there for 10 days. His sister's there. We've got AJ's pastor. We've got his like 3rd grade teacher, something like that.
Miss McGillicuddy.
yeah, Miss McGillicuddy, and he's not even answering the door for his own kids. And yeah, like this opening segment, it really set the tone for what TNA was going to be doing. Because it's, again, I think TNA, one of their strong points was actually comedy. Like that, it's like naturally funny, whereas WWE kind of forces it. I think TNA manages to be quite humorous, and it makes it very entertaining to watch.
I agree with that. I think Vince McMahon, we can say, because he was president at this, not president, why did I say president? He was the owner of WWE, a creative writer at the time. He was a very weird man. He had a weird sense of humor. Whereas TNA was ran by Dixie and Jeff, I think, at this time. I might be wrong. And they had a different set of humor, but their humor felt more natural. Where Vince was either I laugh at it or no one laughs at it.
Yeah, like definitely you felt because AJ was never before like WWE never really known as a big promo guy, but here he's quite naturally funny, and there's a lot of bits and pieces throughout the night, but we'll get to them as we progress through the show. The overarching theme, apart from the AJ segments, is that there are going to be 4 gauntlet matches tonight. And they are to determine the rankings in each division. So that's X Division, Knockouts Division, the women basically, Tag Team, and the World Heavyweight Division. And we will get a good look, I think, at what the overall rosters are like here in 2008, because it's almost the whole of TNA at the moment on this card. It sounds like it. But yeah, before we get into those gauntlet matches to determine the rankings, we've got Jim Cornette and Matt Morgan, who are basically the figureheads, and they are saying that Robert Roode and Tracy Brooks will face Booker T and Sharmell at the pay-per-view, but Samoa Joe comes down to the ring. He's mad because he's not booked on the pay-per-view, and this is shortly after the infamous shoot angle. Well, not even an angle, it was a real situation. Do you want to kind of talk about that?
I'll quickly try and get the promo. If I can. If I can't, I'll send you a photo of it. But Samoa Joe basically ran down Scott Hall because Scott Hall no-showed a pay-per-view. He no-showed Turning Point 2007 because he was battling demons at the time, as stories report at the time. He was battling demons. And basically Samoa Joe went out there. Here's Samoa Joe's promo. You know what, I'll tell you what. Backstage I was told to come out here and they said, Joe, tell the fans, love you. And if there's one thing they trust, it's you. And we want you to go out there and we want you to tell these people something that they'll make themselves satisfied with. The fact that Scott Hall's no-showed this event tonight. You know, I would love to tell you people that he'd be coming down to that ramp a little bit later on. But the fact of the matter is, he punked out on me, and he punked out on every single fan in this building tonight. And then it got me thinking. I was back there, and I said, well, you know what? I could walk out there, I could go 2-on-3 with Kevin and make the best of it. But you know what else? I realised another thing. They just gave me a live mic on pay-per-view. Samoa Joe keeps the promo going with a visibly frustrated Kevin Nash looking on. So if you all don't mind, I'd love to get a few things off my chest. Number 1, in TNA, we have 2 types of wrestlers. We have the TNA diehards who come here and entertain and bust their ass for these fans every night of the week. And we got superstars who think they can come and do whatever they want, however they feel like it. But you have superstars who come out here and not only screw us, the hard-working wrestlers of TNA, but they screw each and every fan who paid to see them, no matter how old they are. So let me make this real simple. Let me explain to you what TNA is. TNA is the Motor City Machine Guns coming out here and busting their ass and trying to make a break in this business. TNA is Black Machismo doing his damnedest to entertain every single fan in this building. TNA is Samoa Joe coming in here and doing what he does best, wrestling and being the best damn professional wrestler in the world. TNA is a bunch of hard-working young athletes who are looking to change the wrestling world. Guys who are held down this while others profiteer from it. TNA is the men who come in here, risk their lives and scaffold things on wires while others show up and pass their pensions. So I'll tell you what, Scott Hall, Chico, Kiss my ass, you punked out, and you're a punk. Are you mad? No, go ahead, fire me, I don't care. And then he introduced his tag partner, Eric Young, and Kevin Nash was still very annoyed.
So, Joe, obviously not happy. Nash isn't happy, but they're still booked to work together because Jim Cornette says neither of you are booked for the pay-per-view, so we're just going to make you team up. Because it was going to be the Outsiders at the pay-per-view challenging for the tag titles, but like it doesn't really make any sense because Hall's not been there since that night, so a bit weird why they were given a title match. But anyway, then a lot of tension between those two, and we will see Will we see Kevin Nash and Joe? Are they both in the main event? I can't quite remember.
I think they're in the main event. Yeah, they're in the main event.
Both of them are in the main event, so it's still they're still going to be locking up, and a lot of tension building before the pay-per-view, including between Robert Roode and Tracy Brooks. Bobby Roode says that Booker T's wife is there's a lot of sexist terminology
Yeah, we're
of
not
the
going to
time. But yeah, a lot of it's bleeped, isn't it? From what on the
a lot
Impact
of
Plus.
it, I have it written down, and a lot of it is bleeped. I don't know if that's post editing or if it was like that on the actual broadcast.
Yeah, like it was a bit weird, but anyway, like Rude is basically he's got this assistant who doesn't want to fight, but he owns her contract, and this is a story that's going to continue to play out over the next couple of weeks on TNA TV. We've got Bully Ray as well, more harassment of the interviewers, but I do like that the interviewer has their own personality. Like Crystal, I think her name is. Yeah, she's quite funny in her own way, like when she's kind of interacting with the other wrestlers. We've also her
name is Crystal. Sorry,
Crystal, and she basically is talking. Bully Ray takes over the interview, or Bubba Ray at the time, Brother Ray even. He's got a lot of names.
It's Brother Ray.
Yeah.
It's not Bully Ray.
No. What do you think of Bully Ray being back in Impact in 2022?
It's very weird. I would love to see Team 3D have a final run, I guess, but it's so weird seeing him in 2022. It's so weird because you think he would be retired at this point, ranting on his podcast about how he's the best mic skills out of any wrestler.
Yeah, well, to be fair to him, cut a decent promo. I mean, there was a bit of racial humour in this. I can't repeat anything on this show. I feel like I'll get me cancelled if I say it out of context. But you can look it up for yourself. No, Devon, he's wearing the X Division Championship for some reason, but we later find out that they've stolen it from Black Machismo, aka Jay Lethal, and then VKM, aka the New Age Outlaws, basically Voodoo Kin Mafia. They
get it, Vince McMahon, get it.
That is very funny. They even tried to a year prior to this go to a WWE pay-per-view. They were going to challenge the Hardys, I believe, at December to Dismember, but there was no way that was going to happen. So,
and previously, infamously, if people watch OSW, shout out to them. Infamously, BG and Kip James were wearing sombreros, I think, and were like, Paul Levesque, Higginbottom, we'll see you at the Alamo. Previously,
they did, and also their theme music is very, very interesting. It starts with a woman screaming, help me, they're in my house, and then the beat kicks in, and I don't know what what that is supposed to signify. Are they wife beaters? Are they like abusers? What's going on there? But
are they robbers?
Exactly. Are they breaking it? Like, what is their angle? It's a very weird theme song, especially because they're now face, like, or at least one of them's face. But it's very confusing. And by the way, I'm like seeing notes of this by 411 Mania because I like to watch the shows live as they happen. I don't really like taking notes, but the comments this guy's making have not aged well either, because again, it was 2008. It was a different time. So, first match of the evening, tag team gauntlet.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Of course.
Something you forgot to mention is I forget who BJ and Kip is. I think Kip is Billy and BG is Road Dogg.
Yeah.
Road Dogg is looking to find a new partner, so there's this tension between BG and Kip because BG holds, I believe, a contract for a tag match, and he doesn't want Kip because Kip always loses in matches, is what I gathered from this. So we also have that.
Did we know who he actually picked in the end? Because I feel like...
not yet.
Oh, right. Because was Ron Killen still knocking about?
I actually don't know. I think Ron left in... Oh, wait, did he?
I think he might have... Yeah, because he would have been back in WWE like later this year. So I'm not sure. But yeah, so Tag Team Gauntlet, first match of the evening. We've got LAX, which is Homicide and Hernandez. Got the Rock and Rave connection of Jimmy Rave and Lance Hoyt. Voodoo King Mafia, like you said, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, a.k.a. BG and Kip James. Team 3D, a.k.a. the Dudley Boys. And the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. We've got Hoyt and James starting off. And I do like Kip's skimpy little outfit. I think it's cute.
I haven't noted here. What is Kip James wearing?
It's got like is he wearing it's not quite suspenders, not suspenders, but you know, stockings, but like pink.
Yeah, I think he's wearing pink stockings, and I don't know what outfit it is, but I want him to bring it back, whatever it is.
But yeah, I mean now he's AEW with the Acclaimed. I think it'd be the perfect opportunity. But there's not really a lot that happens in this matchup. There is some. It's basically your standard Royal Rumble until the last two are there, and then it's a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-2 in this case. I don't want to kind of skip over too much of the action, but not really a lot happens. Is there anything you kind of noted during this match?
No, I've only really noted the entrance. So I've noted whoever enters the match. Yeah. And basically after Kip James, Devon, who I've noted is ripped and representing Team 3D.
I was going to say, actually, Devon is looking shredded and like a brick.
He is like he's all muscle. He's a beefy boy. I will tell you that much.
But the rest of them, you know, Hernandez hits the border toss. Does he hit the border toss in this match?
Well, I will run down the entrance first, and then we'll get into who's eliminated by who.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want, or do you want to just cut? Or do you just want to like cut to who are the last people remaining?
No. I'll run down the entrance very quickly.
Yeah, that's all right.
We've Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley, and I've noted he is not aged. We've Homicide representing LAX, Latin American Exchange, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we have final two teams turned to a 2-on-2 tag match, which was noted. We have Jimmy Rave representing Rock and Rave Connection, BG James, and then we have Brother Ray, and then Chris Sabin representing MCMG, Motor City Machine Guns.
So the last two is Motor City Machine Guns and the Rock and Rave Connection, but then that's when we come back from the break because all the eliminations happened in the commercial. Which is, fine. But then when we come back from break, it barely goes, 30 seconds, and Motor City Machine Guns win. Fair enough, but the match, it was alright, but nothing really to write home about, to be honest. I do think that the Motor City Machine Guns look good, and also Brother Devon looks absolutely humongous. So that was a good, decent foray into the tag team division. What did you think?
I think it was good. I think it was a good match. Do you want me to run down the eliminations?
I mean, the eliminations in this one I didn't think were as memorable as, say, the main event because there wasn't really much storyline to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, there was one storyline, kind of, and that was when Kip James gets eliminated and he goes backstage and then BG comes out and he looks out of it and confused. And then the other one is when Brother Devon, because he's called Brother Devon at this point, when he gets eliminated by BG James, Brother Ray looks so angry at Devon.
Yeah.
And he just walks back. They're not splitting up, he just looks furious at Devon for getting eliminated. Because their whole shtick at this point was, we hate the X Division.
Yeah, and to get embarrassed by the Machine Guns as well, because they are competing in Ultimate X on Sunday. So it'll be the Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal versus Team 3D and Johnny Devine, which is their kind of lackey, basically. But But yeah, fine match. Not really anything to write home about. But then afterwards, the Machine Guns are they've got a table in the ring, but then all the X Division guys run in and basically run off Johnny Devine. And that's kind of to set up the Ultimate X at the pay-per-view. And now we've got an interview with Kurt and Karen Angle. And again, we were talking about comedy. Kurt Angle plays it straight. He says that AJ and Tomko are going to join him. And what else does he say as well? He says... a
draw full of knives. I'm not the sharpest.
Like, I don't know why he said it, but yes, it's funny. I like it. He's still a bit of an idiot, a useful idiot, but that's what made the Attitude Era successful, in my opinion. And that might be Vince Russo's influence a little bit, because in the Attitude Era, everyone was funny, but they could also turn it up and be serious when they wanted to be, you know?
Yeah.
We got JB still at her AJ's grandmother's house, and AJ's third grade teacher says it doesn't surprise her because he was shy as a kid and he had zits from eating chocolate, and AJ is furious with this and he's yelling that it was a lie. That's a lie. And I like how he keeps poking his head through the curtain
from the blind jet. It's honestly, if you want, if we can recommend anything from this show to hunt this segment out, because he's just, if people say AJ can't do comedy, you show them this segment. He can do comedy when he wants to. It's just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, like throughout the whole night as well, just the kind of rapport he's got with all of the different cast of characters, the weird characters. And this is like just the start. I think they get better as they go along as well. But it's funny stuff. And next up, we've got the Knockouts Women's Gauntlet. I'm not missing anything, am I? They run down the card for the pay-per-view. But yeah, so we've got the Knockout Women's Gauntlet. We've got Velvet Sky. Well, I'll say it, the entrance. So we've got Miss Brooks and Angelina Love to start, and I love the Beautiful People theme, by the way. It's one of my favourite themes in wrestling. We've got, but also I would notice as well, in TNA at this time, you either had a banger of a theme song, aka your Christians, your Kurt Angles, or your theme song was terrible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like Jackie Moore's theme, it was Miss Brooks' theme was literally just Robert Roode's theme, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't mind Bobby Roode's theme too much though, but some of them were terrible.
It was just weird, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of like rip-off themes, you know what I mean? Like you change bootleg WWE themes sometimes.
Not bootleg. It was just legally changed. Themes.
Yes. Very on the edge of that, but yeah. So, Miss Brooks, Angelina Love start. Number 3 is Jackie Moore, aka Jacqueline from WWE. Number 4 is Velvet Sky. Christy Hemme in at number 5. Then we've also got number 6, ODB, and this is where the kind of crowd picks up. I love ODB. I think she's one of my favourite female wrestlers of all time. I don't know if you'd agree.
I think she's a great wrestler, ODB. I was literally marking out when ODB came out because I was like, is she debuted at this time? I hope so. And then when she came out, I was like, yes, it's ODB.
Yeah, she also, because it was at a time where, you really only had one body type in women's wrestling. It was like you're skinny, you're blonde, that kind of thing. But ODB, not only was she a good wrestler, she was funny, she could act, she was just the complete opposite of what you'd think would be like a ladylike diva, so to speak, in wrestling. And I think if she'd been around now, today, I think she could have been even bigger. But she did stand out back then. Roxy Laveau, number 7. And speaking of standing out, number 8, Awesome Kong. Love Awesome Kong as well. She is running wild and she seems unstoppable, but the remaining people, anything particularly that caught your eye on this matchup?
Not really. Only that wasn't Christy Hemme. Wasn't she paid wasn't she paid more than all the divas, or not divas, knockouts in TNA at the time?
Yes.
Wasn't that the report?
Yeah. I don't know why. They must have seen something in her, but they're probably not paying. I was going to say they're not paying enough. They are probably paying enough too much. It's not like a discredit to her or anything. It just shows how maybe they're too eager to snap up people with a little bit of name value from WWE, and that was always like a conflict with TNA, because you had the likes of Awesome Kong, ODB, Gail Kim really cementing themselves as TNA people, but then they would pick up just anyone from WWE they could get their hands on at the time.
It really just shows there was two distinct sides to TNA. Your homegrown and then your ex-WWE. Like, people compare it to AEW, but I think it's a bit different with AEW, because most talent, now you kind of forget that they didn't really start in WWE. They were more indie wrestlers, whereas here you can clearly tell that half these are either from WCW, WWE.
I mean, it's exactly what Samoa Joe was talking about in that promo. ODB, and I believe Velvet Sky. No, wait. Let's have a look. It's when we come back from commercial that they're all trying to eliminate Kong.
For people who want to know, Angelina Love eliminated by Awesome Kong. Awesome Kong eliminated by ODB, Jackie Moore, and Roxy Laveau. And then Jackie Moore eliminates Roxy Laveau. We
had, who was left at the very end?
Jackie Moore, not Jackie Moore, ODB and Roxy Laveau.
Yeah, so ODB, Big Boot, and then she calls it the breast press for the win. And ODB, the winner, and it was really fun. I was expecting Kong to win just because she was the one who was facing Kim for the title later on. But still, when you talk about mid-2000s women's wrestling, it's quite dire. No disrespect to the people who were wrestling there, but like, they weren't often given time, and it just shows you here they were given time to work and show that they could put on a good performance. And you know what? I think at the time the knockouts were like the highest rated segment on TNA programming. Could be wrong.
I would say that, and Kurt Angle's segments were highest rated.
Yeah.
Because in WWE it was mostly just, I'm not going to say terrible wrestlers, but you had a lot more inexperienced women's wrestlers in WWE, whereas TNA had more experienced, and then Christy Hemme and Miss Brooks.
So, they still did have that element of divarization, is that a word that I can use? Maybe, but that's sort of where WWE was going, and TNA showing that women's wrestling could be taken seriously, and look where it's at now. It's pretty cool. But next up, we've got Crystal with Tomko. Tomko's basically laughing at Kurt Angle, demanding stuff from him. He says no one will demand anything from Tomko. He's not AJ Styles. He's dealt with it from Christian for years, and tonight he's going to demand the respect that he's earned. And he comes out to the ring, tells Angle to get out there, and Kurt Angle basically saying, and by the way, for people who don't know, Tomko is AJ's tag team partner. They're tag champions, I believe. Yeah,
they're tag champions.
Yeah, so that's why Tomko's out here, because AJ hasn't picked a side, and Angle and Christian want to know where Tomko stands, and Tomko's the only one of that team actually there tonight. So Tomko basically says, why would I take a bullet for you or Christian, to Kurt Angle? But he says that he wouldn't take a bullet for any of them, and he cares for no one but himself. And when Angle says he respects that, they shake hands, but then Angle tries to attack him because he's a sneaky bugger, and Tomko catches him and says, if you try it again, I will break your neck permanently. That was intense.
It was very weird, because Tomko at this time, I don't think he was taken that serious. So him saying that is very weird. Yeah. It's not something you would expect from him.
No, especially at this time, I don't think he was like really featured other than like the lackey, so to speak, of AJ and Christian. But I like Tomko's look. I think he's got a cool look. But then again, it feels like those tattoos are like peak 2005. Do you know what I mean?
They're outdated in 2008.
They are outdated in 2008, let alone 2022. But yeah, Tomko, I love his pointed goatee and shaven buzz cut. Cool look. But I don't know if I can take him seriously as a main eventer just yet, but we'll see. But he's made his choice. He's not siding in with anyone. But AJ Styles, he is still on the fence. So his high school wrestling coach, Coach Butterman, he isn't surprised because he says he wrestled Redneck Reed, an alternative girl, allegedly. Again, some of this humour's not aged well, but it is what it is. AJ apparently pissed his pants, but AJ says it was Mountain Dew, and he gets angry and annoyed. But yeah, just more. I'm making it sound terrible, but it was quite funny, in my opinion.
And he wants a Yahoo and a bologna sandwich.
Exactly, and he's shouting at his relatives, and this is the segment after, wasn't it? When AJ was apparently frisky as a kid, and he demands basically a sandwich after shouting at her sister, which was quite funny. And then he asks for Tonko's number and slams the door. But yeah, that's quite good. And this was where also I saw the AJ action figure on the table, so very interesting.
Oh, that's very interesting. Actually, do you know which one it was? Like, was it a big bulky one, or was it?
It looked like a big bulky one. I think it might have been like.
I know it.
Yeah.
A 2-pack.
I think it was just a single AJ figure. It was like the long blue pants.
Oh, I think I know what you're on about. Yeah, it's the little small one.
Yeah, so next up, Crystal's talking to Sanjay Dutt and Black Machismo. Also, highly recommend checking out Dr. Nash segments from TNA around this time. Basically, this was an overhaul of the X Division. They all got characters as a result of this. Some of them floundered, but some of them stuck, like this Black Machismo gimmick for Jay Lethal. Basically, he thinks he's Randy Savage, and I think it's great. Keeps mentioning Hogan and Liz, and very double entendres with the 80s references here. But once they go, then Christian Cage appears for the first time tonight. So he's proud of Tonko for making his decision, but he needs to know where AJ stands because he needs to know who to share the glory with. And he mentions he's in the gauntlet tonight and invites Angle to come out and basically watch. So yeah, fun segment. What do you think about Black Machismo as a gimmick?
I think Black Machismo is it's a very weird gimmick because it doesn't really get Jay Lethal over. It more gets Randy Savage over.
That's
that
true.
Makes sense?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, he's doing an impression of Macho Man. Basically, it's TNA going, look, we couldn't hire Macho Man again. This is basically what we've got.
It worked though. I mean, I did get Jay Lethal over to an extent, but then they fired him.
It did, yeah.
Which is,
they did fire him.
You know, why they fire him? Don't know. Bit strange. That was when they fired the Young Bucks as well, wasn't it? So they didn't really have a good eye for talent in the Hogan era, did they?
No. We've the X Division segment next. Do you want me to run through the entrance in this match?
Oh yeah, you can. I love this match, by the way. Just putting it out there.
Sanjay Dutt is the first entrant in the X Division Gauntlet. He is, what is he called again? He's called something.
The Guru.
The Guru. Petey Williams is the second entrant in the X Division Gauntlet.
By the way, looking shredded. Looking absolutely shredded.
Shredded. I don't know if he's Little Petey Pump yet, or is this afterwards? I don't know.
I think Sacrifice 2008 is when he does the Steiner math. So yeah, it's coming. Little Petey Pump.
That's just a little. We actually don't know what happens in 08 because, of course, Shark Boy is the third entrant, and Shark Boy rules.
He does. They also made that huge set for him. Do you remember when he was in a coma and he woke up and he thought he was stone cold?
I don't think that has happened yet.
No, we've got to wait for that. Sorry, spoilers ahead.
We've got Primetime Elix Skipper is the fourth entrant. Primetime Elix Skipper eliminated by... I don't know why Primetime Elix Skipper eliminated by Elix Skipper. I don't know why I said that. Johnny Define is the fifth entrant. Shark Boy eliminated by Johnny Define. Senshi is the sixth entrant. Johnny Define eliminated by Petey Williams. Senshi and Sanjay Dutt have a battle. Sanjay Dutt eliminated by Senshi. Canadian Destroyer is a finish. finisher in this.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The Canadian Destroyer was amazing. What is your thoughts on the Canadian Destroyer?
Obviously, it's a meme now, isn't it? Because everyone does it, but Petey Williams hits it like a pro. Like, it's so sick. And also in the environment that he's in there, like, it's completely different to anything else. I know it doesn't make sense, but I love my flippy shit in wrestling, so it gets a pass from me. Obviously, nowadays, everyone's doing it, but back then, I loved it.
What is your highlights from this match? What did you love?
I liked, what was it, Triple X there? Well, not Triple X because Daniels was fired at this time. He would be back, but he lost the briefcase. So you got Elix Skipper and Senshi working together, and I loved Triple X. Their cage match, I believe, versus America's Most Wanted is one of my favourite matches ever. And this match, I just love how crisp everything is. Really, like there wasn't anything particularly memorable. It was just everything that they did was crisp and solid, good fundamentals. Like it was pretty brief. I think it only went like 5-ish minutes, but it was fast paced and it's definitely I'd say it's probably my favourite match of the night just because it was a good showcase for the X Division and why people loved it so much, really. But yeah.
I think TNA at this time, going into the Hogan era, it doesn't work for me, brother. But during this time, basically, I think TNA had a great layout. You started it off with the tag teams, then you do women's, and then do X Division, and then your main event. I think that's a great layout because then you have different styles of wrestling. You have the people who come for tag teams, you have the people who come for women's, the people who come then for the flippy stuff, and then the main event. Like there's a lot of wrestling here for everyone to watch.
I think it was paced.
TNA.
I think it was paced really, really well. Like it flew by for me when I was watching it. I didn't even realise that I'd been an hour into it. But yeah, and like you said, it's the way that they just kind of space things out and place stuff on the card. I think it's something that AEW could do better at, is pacing their shows and giving more variety, because they did have a lot of variety at the start, but I feel like it's gotten a bit samey recently. And I would say also to an extent WWE too. I think the more the merrier really when it comes to like characters and styles of wrestling. But that's just, quick little bit there. James Storm and Jackie now backstage. They are drinking beer and there's a beer drinking title apparently. And there's going to be a drinking championship series at the pay-per-view, and it's going to be is it him and Eric Young, is it?
Eric Young,
yeah, so Eric Young at this time as well, quite funny in his character. So they do have a drinking challenge and probably a match that I would be looking forward to. I'll be honest. So we come back to AJ's house. His priest is there. This is my favourite bit. AJ was an altar boy, and the man, was it? A lot of double entendres, not double entendres, that makes it sound sexy. It was, the man chose Christian, and obviously the priest is very happy about that, but then it turns out that they're Baptist, and apparently the guy's at the wrong house, and yeah, just comedy ensues. That's all I'm going to say about it, because I can't really...
The priest confuses AJ Styles for AJ Snipes.
That's it. That was the punchline. But yeah, a funny little segment there. Again, we're not going to do it justice. You should definitely go out and check it out for yourself, or just look up TNA Funny Moments, really. Got Booker and Sharmell backstage. Booker says basically he's here to protect his wife, but Sharmell ain't having none of it. She's ready for a fight, and it's on like Netbone, and Booker says, you done pissed her off. So, yeah, Booker T, angry. And he's only just come to the company at this point, because he's only just left WWE after being, I was going to say, arguably buried. He was buried by Triple H on the way out, wasn't he?
Did he get buried by Triple H in 07?
It was SummerSlam 2007, the return match with Triple H. Beats Booker, and then Booker's fired.
Wait, Booker got fired from that match? I didn't actually know that.
I don't know if he got fired because, I think it was like the Signature Pharmacy stuff that he might have got fired for. or he requested his release, something like that. But he's only just left WWE, so he's fresh here in TNA. And that brings us on to our main event. Quite a stacked card of main event talent on one side, and then on the other side, well, we'll get to it. But if you want to go through the entrance and just give your quick thoughts on the match.
Booker T is the first entrant. James Storm is the second entrant. Robert Roode is the third entrant. Robert Roode, of course, goes after Booker T. Eric Young is the fourth entrant. Where is my notes gone? Kaz or Kazarian is the fifth entrant. Black Young. Who the hell is Black Young? Black Rain is the sixth entrant.
I don't want to know who Black Young is.
I think I might have confused Eric Young for Black Rain, and I was like...
That would be a gimmick. Speaking of gimmicks, Relic. Did you know it's killer spelled backwards?
Oh, I didn't know that, thanks.
There you go.
Relic is the seventh entrant. Chris Harris, who I think at the time they were trying to push hard, but...
Oh, no. This is when they were getting rid of him. He was on his way out.
Oh, yeah.
I think I recall this was around the time of Braden Walker. So...
Yes. Chris Harris is the eighth entrant. Scott Steiner is the ninth entrant. Kevin Nash is the 11th entrant. Abyss is the 12th entrant. Samoa Joe is the 13th entrant. And Christian goddamn Cage is the 14th entrant. What is your thoughts on this match?
I liked it. I liked... well, I didn't like the parts with Black Rain and that kind of cavalcade of mystery spookies. Do you know what I mean? Like the Judas Messias, your Relics, your Abysses. I love Abyss, by the way, don't get me wrong, but I don't think the Black Rain angles that there were going on, like with Relic and all that, I don't think they helped Abyss really at this time. But apart from those segments, I liked the interactions with Booker T. I liked the interactions with Scott Steiner and Christian as well. And then when Angle came out and that kind of storyline was being shown off, I liked that part. We also had some interesting like little combinations of the wrestlers, so you'd have like Booker T and Scott Steiner teaming up, what have you. But yeah, so we got to the final three, which if I can recall correctly, it was Christian, Nash and Joe. Yeah.
Kevin Nash and Samoa Joe shake hands. Kevin Nash is eliminated by Kevin Nash. Basically, Kevin Nash shook Samoa Joe's hand and said, "I'll eliminate myself so you can win."
You think they're on the same page ahead of the tag team match that they've got, but then...
And then Christian basically rolls up Samoa Joe and Christian Cage wins.
Yeah, so it makes sense because Christian Cage is the number one contender for the title anyway, so you might as well win the gauntlet.
Yeah. Thoughts?
I thought it was decent. I don't think it was the best showcase for the main event. To be fair, a lot of these matches weren't really the best showcase, like for the respective divisions, but they were fine, really, for what they were. I think that this one suffered from having too many people in it, arguably. I feel like there's no reason to have Relic and all that in it, you know? But...
Yeah, I think it should have just been the heavy hitter main eventers.
Yeah, if you kept it down to Abyss, Nash, Booker, Christian, Joe, Rude, Steiner, and Storm, I think you could have had a decent match there, and you would have been able to highlight more of the wrestlers in it. But you know, that's just a bit of a nitpick, to be honest.
I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. I think the match was a good match. It showcased all the main eventers well. It showcased that TNA is more than ex-WWE guys. Although I think that was carried by the people like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles. I don't really count Christian Cage as a WWE guy because he's more shown as a main eventer here.
Yeah, and even Kurt Angle, really, you can argue as a TNA guy. I mean, in hindsight, at least. Maybe not at the time, but in hindsight, definitely, you could argue.
In hindsight.
Yeah. So the final segment of the night, AJ, we're expecting a decision. He chooses Cage, but no, he doesn't. He chooses Angle. But then he says he'll make his decision at the pay-per-view. And then
No, he says before Kurt Angle, he goes, no, Kangle. And then he says he'll find out a resolution.
Oh, okay. But then he kicks everyone out. Kicks out the priest, kicks out his teacher, kicks out his sister. But it's not even his house, so, I don't know if he has any right to do that. But yeah, we didn't get a decision now, but hopefully we'll get one at Final Resolution. So, what did you think of the show overall?
I think the show was pretty good. I think it highlighted what 2008 is going to be like in TNA. I think it highlights what TNA is all about. It's all about comedy. It's all about gimmicks. It's all about wrestlers. It's all about X Division and their Knockouts Division and Tag Team Division. And here's hoping there's more of TNA 2008. What is your thoughts?
I thought it was a great jumping off point for someone who, well, I kind of know the general logistics of what TNA was doing at the time, but it's very good to see, okay, what's each division like. And I think it was perfect to it was a good introduction if you've never seen TNA at all, because you had all of the characters there, and there were a lot of cool storyline threads in there. You had, like you said, different divisions. You also had the comedy of AJ, and I thought all the backstage segments were pretty fun too. Like, it showed off a lot of personalities of the wrestlers. So yeah, thumbs up. I mean, the wrestling wasn't the best, but it was serviceable, and it definitely made me interested to see more. So gets a thumbs up from me in that respect.
I agree with that. Here's hoping Final Resolution is a good, no pun intended, turning point.
Yes, indeed. I would like to watch Final Resolution. So even if it doesn't actually get reviewed, we're going to watch it anyway, but we probably will review it. So that is the show. Let me know what you thought of this in the comments below. Be sure to check out Piggy's Instagram page.
If you like this, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Make sure you leave your comments below, your thoughts on this. Would you like to see more? Would you like to see less? Would you like to see some in the middle? If you like this, follow Fergie's stuff. He does stop motion to entertain all of you. And this is kind of new for him. This is kind of new for me. If you like my voice, woo. Make sure to check out my page. And that's really it. Hope you guys have a fun one. And if you like it, make sure to leave us everything.
You're a pro. Thank you for that. And thank you for listening and watching this video. This is the first of what I hope will be many. Thank you and goodbye.